We begin our adventures with a Susquehanna Speedway flashback. Susky was built in the early 50s and is the highest banked and the reddest clayed of central Pennsylvania's historic dirt tracks. October 4th, 1992. If you like large fields, Joey Kuhn's Manufacturer's Appreciation Night is always required viewing. Over 50 sprinters are letting it fly in honor of an additional $20,000 in prizes. Airborne Jesse Wentz and Alan Cole are among those uninjured in the first turn. Tony Greener salutes the fans. Another Susky spill as Steve Smith goes end for end. Although the feature found the track dusting, the groove is high and passing plentiful. The 21 of Fast Freddie Raymer has already come from 8th starting spot to lead, but the number 77 of Outlaw Stevie Smith is closing after starting 12th. Freddie will prevail, but things really got interesting on the 25th of the 30 laps.
You've said in the past, and other drivers have said, even Donnie, there's a couple times he's been in races with you. The guy in the front in lap traffic like that may not necessarily have the advantage.
Well, it's a disadvantage. If you're running second, you have nothing to lose. If you're leading, you screw up, then you're the world's biggest idiot. So you sort of are more, cautious. And as slick as the track was tonight, it was pretty hard to operate. But, we were lucky and we got her done.
October 10th is the final show for 92 at Silver Spring, starring the Super Sportsman. Lenny Hake loses his engine, and Charlie Sorakech finds the oil. Sorakech sort of catches the wall. It was a hard crash, but Charlie is okay. A typical Silver Spring feature as Paul Troutman, number 16, gives up the lead to the number 7 of Jeremy Trout, who had started 8th. Jeremy holds off this last lap challenge by Donnie Beaver, number 5, who had come all the way from the 12th starting spot. It's Jeremy's first win of the year here.
Jeremy, you had her going tonight. Yeah, I really did. We had problems in the 100-lapper, and we had a bar go bad, and we put a new bar in it, and she just flew tonight.
No doubt about it. Up there in the cushion, that's where you like to race. Get a footful and bang her off the cushion there, and away you went.
Yeah, that was I couldn't get Troutman on the bottom, and I just decided to go to the top, and the harder I went in, the faster I was, so I decided just to run the top, and it worked out. I want to say, too, the last time I won up here was when Gary Wolford was in that wreck, and tonight was the night he, I guess, said his farewell to racing, and I'd like to give this to Gary Wolford.
October 11th, the sprinters conduct business during the 92 season finale at Williams Grove. Veteran Glenn Fitzcharles will be a victim of how easy a wing sprinter can tip. Racing in the rain, Fred Raymer is leading, having started on the pole, but the 69 of point champ Donnie Kreitz has advanced from 7th to keep the 21 company. Bob Beitelman may have been a victim of a slickening outside groove. Bob heads back to the pits to prepare another racer. It was a 21-lap long two-car battle for the lead, as Raymer holds off Kreitz for the win. October 18th, just across the New Jersey border is the Bridgeport Speedway, a 5/8 mile with a clear infield featuring the modifieds. Large competitive fields and double-file restarts are among the trademarks of these unusual-looking open-wheel stock cars. It looks like Butch Glisson's racer wants a suntan on its belly pan. Wherever Billy Pouch shows up with one of his modified rides, he usually wins. Such is the case today at Bridgeport. As typical in the modifieds, the number 15 of Billy the Kid came from 15th starting spot. The PA sprinters are making their usual late season appearance here in Jersey today. Racing columnist Bev Thompson takes the high groove. The 69 of Donnie Kreitz is again in our lens, taking the lead from the 19 of Steve Smith on the 18th lap among lap traffic. They really run hard here at Bridgeport. Despite backpedaling here in a bad moment of lap traffic, Kreitz enjoyed a sizable lead at the finish. November 14th, Lincoln Speedway's postseason turkey shootout will be green flagged in clear, cool weather. Steve Smith is on end again after a late hit in the dusty third turn sunset. Always fast on Thanksgiving, Chris Ace came from the second row to lead every lap. November 28th, for something a little different, we take the Pennsylvania and Jersey turnpikes to I-95, and we're at the shore and Wall Stadium. It's a little cool for swimming, but a large crowd has come for the 19th annual Turkey Derby, starring the Asphalt Modifieds. It's a very well-run show and the season finale here at the High Bank Third Mile Saturday night operation. Inverted slides are not unusual for these low-slung pavement pounders, but Clark Van Buskirk may have just set the Wall Stadium record. The 6:59 of Eddie Bone leads the 40 of Ken Woolley and the 76 of John Blewett early in the 150 lapper. Heavy damage, but the Tony Ferrani team has all winter to rebuild his racer. Woolley spins out of second place with a flat tire. A couple laps later, Blewett also pulled pit side with tire problems. Tony Siscone, number 14, is putting on a show, coming from 9th starting spot to take second by going around the 88 of Jerry Kramer. The final laps. When Siscone couldn't get around the leader, he tried briefly to drive through him. But Eddie Bone is over $5,000 richer in victory lane. As the middle-class tax cuts turn into tax increases, it's time for midwinter indoor racing at the Harrisburg Farm Show Complex. Even with the new liberal White House, boys still will be boys and girls are being girls here in the Livestock Exhibition Arena. The micros are wingless, which probably doesn't affect the racing on this romper room of racetracks, but does allow a clear view of frantic drivers, not to mention frequent sign language, which we've edited to keep our tape G-rated. Flip victims are Mark Kirkpatrick, Brad Sheets, Jimmy Nace, Ralph Littlefield, and Don Slack. Kevin Gobrecht pinches off his fuel line to minimize fluid leakage of his inverted racer. Kevin's fortunes were of extremes during the two events, suffering the wildest spill of the indoor season during Motorama and charging through the fog for a dominating win in the Keystone Classic.
I don't even think we have to remind him to smile.
February 10th. Highlights of a Florida vacation include the All-Star Speed Week at Tampa's East Bay. A large crowd would arrive after the time trials. Even with a stellar field pit side, including the likes of Hewitt, Howdenshield, and Davis, the series would fit this tape very well, as all four features were won by Central Pennsylvania regulars. East Bay is perfectly sized for sprinters with a fast, smooth surface, not to mention the best beef jerky in the East. Sprint car fans appreciate the sprint-only format, plus a stiff 11 o'clock curfew ensures you will never be an all-night hostage in the East Bay grandstands. Brent Anthill had his cage rattled in this opening night crash. Brent, who finished third in last year's points at Knoxville, is okay. The green racer of Larry Skinner has a large lead on the final lap of the C main. A hard lesson of lap traffic leaves the young local driver uninjured. Fred Raymer, number 21, started on the pole and led every lap. Chris Aish finished second. Friday night was the Chris Aish show, not soon to be forgotten. The 29 of Keith Kaufman led from the pole for 6 laps before snagging the berm among lap traffic. Aish started 8th, and when his number 17 took the lead from Mark Keegan, it was the only actual pass for the lead in the 4-night All-Star Time Trial Series. The final lap, Aish is still leading, but Keegan and Fred Raymer are closing. This is the victory lane. As we can see, although already knee-deep in doo-doo, Aish clearly scored the $3,000 win over the white car of Keegan. Saturday finds Aish starting on the pole and pulling into victory lane in more conventional style on his way to the Florida Speed Week Championship. A rainout shuffled the finale off the schedule for us, but Keith Kaufman would win over Aish. March 7th, we're back up north where the Williams Grove opener was enjoyable to anyone with a shovel, hip boots, and certificate of insanity. Actually, it would be the best racing weather for some time. Will Rose backs her in. An opening day heads-up start finds the 29 of Keith Kaufman leading off the pole, but the 69 of Donnie Kreitz is in pursuit on the fast, heavy surface. A potentially good duel for first ends as Kreitz trips over his flat tire. Kaufman's long gone now as Fred Raymer, 21, gets past Chris Aish on the final lap for second.
Keith, how about today's race? Lap traffic present any problems for you?
Well, not really. You know, one time I thought I lapped a couple cars here at the checker flag, but I guess I didn't. But, you know, it's just one of them deals. You get a daylight race. You know, these guys, they did a great job trying to get this place ready. And, you know, if the track's a little rough, that's just the way it is. You know, it's the same for everybody.
April 3rd, the car's limited sprints make an appearance at Lincoln to the financial benefit of the wing manufacturers. A great race for first as Randy Ruth, number 88, leads Bob Beitelman, 81, and Butch Hoover. Frankie Herr endos his own racer. A first turn spectacular leaves flippers B.J. Bollinger and Jason Claus uninjured. The 29 of Hoover has moved into second and is showing his nose wing to leader Ruth. It's cold and it's late as Bob Beitelman has the lead to himself for the final 5 laps.
How do you find the track here at Lincoln Speedway with some of the changes they've made in the off-season?
Well, everything was quite fine. Like, we had a bunch of shows here last year in Dietrich's car, and the track I was a little more familiar with, and it looked like the facility, for the weather that we had and the things the way it was, they did a super job. I'm just glad to race, man.
It's the full sprinter's turn on the short half mile. Gene Knob throws a tire and the wing hitting upside down, bare caged and hard. Gene re-injured his back in the crash. A heads-up start, Flag the Flagger, stars the 461 of Lance DeWeese.
Yeah, we were pretty good tonight. I could have been better. I got a little slow at the end, but that's all part of it. You know, we was afraid to get too tight because we didn't know how much moisture would come back up in the track or not. But yeah, we was fast here in the year last year. The last race of the year, the daytime show, we was real fast there, but we got tangled up with a lap car and had to go to the rear. But we like it here. It's a lot of fun racing here. Lap traffic makes it a lot of fun.
The Big Diamond Speedway near Minersville operates Friday nights, except for the opener. This year, green flagged on Sunday afternoon, April the 4th. Despite continued very cold weather, the fan-oriented modifieds draw a full house. The tough modified handicapping is replaced by an opening day draw. This simplified our coverage. Kenny Brightville in his number 19 is legendary for his dominance of the famous Reading Fairgrounds in years gone by. Kenny started up front and stayed there today at the Big D. April 11th, we've mentioned that modified racing is fan-oriented, and when modified promoters took over Susquehanna, the first thing they did was move the pits outside, allowing the fans to see the racing. The first of several special open cockpit Sunday night shows would offer them plenty to look at. In confusion to avoid Mark Zimmerman's warm-up spill, Donnie Beaver also caught a tire. Both drivers will return to race the same Super Sportsman racers. There's left front corner landing damage for Russ Mitten. Dwight Lieb saves his wing. Jeremy Trout hitches a ride atop Ken Carberry. Dave Schuster goes Easter egg hunting out in the thicket. Tim Kuhn is also over on the heavy, super-fast racing surface. Everyone is okay. Howie Locke, number 12, scores his first win of the season with ease. The number 5 of Donnie Beaver gets past Bobby Howard for second on the final lap.
I got to thank Gary Johnston, one of the kids on the crew here. I can't draw numbers for the life of me. I usually always draw the worst number in the hat. So we left him drawing. He picked 2, so I got to thank him. It was a lot easier starting up front. There's no doubt about that.
The sprinters take over. Dave Kelly duels with the 69 of Todd Gracie. Tall Alan Cole frees himself from his heavily damaged racer. You may have read of this race, the one Donnie Kreitz will never forget, and neither will we. The 69 of Kreitz takes the lead from Dan Dietrich, number 8, with the 21 of Fred Raymer in tow. Dave Kelly allowed his racer to remain stranded outside until after the racing in consideration of the fans. Kreitz and Raymer continued to exchange the lead, with Keith Kaufman at times closing in. Kreitz proved he can run a wet and rough surface with the best by triumphing over Fred Raymer in this wheel-banging, wheelie-popping eye-opener of a high-speed contest, the show of the year. April 16th at a wet Williams Grove. Darren Ace, number 10, leads the feature that will include a week-long rain delay. Week 1 launched Ron Hodges over a spinning Len Thompson. Week 2 quickly eliminated Craig Eschenauer, who had run second for 9 laps. Keith Kaufman, number 29, came from deep in the field to take the lead from Ace in the 3rd turn of the 19th lap to make it 2 Grove wins in a row. This before the rains came down again, canceling the regularly scheduled show. The 21 of Fred Raymer takes the lead from the 54 of Chris Hladek on the 9th lap on his way to the quickest feature ever run at Lincoln, where management got in a well-run show on a cold, rainy April 17th. April 23rd, a pleasant drive over or under Blue Mountain from Carlisle offers the aroma of micro sprints at the High Bank quarter-mile Path Valley Speedway. Sharing Friday nights with some racy local mini stocks, over 40 Central PA micros flat-footed around their fastest weekly arena. Walter and Randy Morrow control their heat race contact, but they will meet again during the feature. Mike is okay after his micro sprint spectacular. Micro superstar Kevin Gobrecht is on hand in his number 92 to start 6th and dominate the wild 20-lapper. Paul Klein prepares as the mini sprints make a special appearance in the valley. These racers are almost the same size as full midgets and a little bigger than three-quarter midgets, which are a little bigger than micro sprints, or are they micro midgets? Who's confused? Anyway, the 15-car field is loud and several are very fast, including a black 92 piloted by one Kevin Gobrecht. Kevin's two-race mini-sprint career parallels his recent indoor micro season as he comes back from last week's Lincoln flip to hold off Tim Dietz for the win tonight at Path Valley.
I guess you'll be giving the open cockpit victories a real go at it this year, racing in two divisions.
Well, we hope so. I really didn't think much about it because with your first year of mini sprints, you're kind of lucky to get your first one or two wins, more or less a bunch of them. So I'm just, glad to have this one. And once again, I got to thank Rich Wagman Jr. I mean, he bought the car for me. He bought everything for me. I just can't thank him enough.
Meanwhile, over at Williams Grove, Tony Greener has a lost screwdriver stuck in his accelerator. They don't call William Bryan Wild Bill for nothing. Leader Fred Raymer's problems need no explanation, but only the 461 of Lance DeWeese slips by, and on the final lap yet. April 24th. As the old postcard proves, the Port Royal Speedway is the senior of all PA's operating speedways. The full half mile in the rustically charming fairgrounds is known nationally as one of the most awesome arenas to view winged sprinters. There's no better place to see sprint chassis and drivers work than the fourth turn bleachers at the port. A well-run show allows the feature to start in daylight. The 461 of Lance DeWeese takes the lead, but the 29 of Keith Kaufman is pursuing in lap traffic. About the same time Troy Kemp met Sean Stidfall, DeWeese blew a tire restarting on the rear. This took the edge off the second half of this one, as KK is where he belongs, standing by the Weichert car in the Port Royal victory lane. Meanwhile, on the other side of Perry County at Silver Spring, Mark Zimmerman punches the throttle without the luxury of steering. One of the most exciting super sportsman drivers over the years has been frequent rim rider Rich Eichelberger, whose beautiful number 8 is now free of early season bugs. Rich scores his first win of the season. April 25th. Sunday night crowds are no problem at Penn National. Reasons for the Tri-Track Big Diamond, Grandview, and Penn National Modified Circuit success may include what you won't see. There are no limited modified, 6-cylinder mods, mini mods, etc. Just one full field, often exceeding 50 cars, participating in undiluted and addicting competition, plus one single supporting class of street stocks. Barry Redinger, number 31, Scott Albert, 10, and Doug Hoffman, number 60, go three-way for the lead before the number 15 of Billy Pouch trucked on by all of them on the 13th circuit. Defending champ Pouchy had come all the way from 20th starting spot to score his 55th career Penn National win. In the process of his Penn National feature wins alone, Pouch has passed over 1,000 cars. April 30th, dry weather at last. Although still being pumped, the Williams Grove pits are functionable again. The show here starts on time for the first time this year. The 88 of Chuck Reinert leads, but the 69 of Donnie Kreitz is a car length per lap quicker. Kreitz took over on the 9th lap. Lance DeWeese moved into second before spinning, creating this roadblock for Dan Dietrich as Kreitz takes the checkered first.
You know, I guess sometimes when you have the kind of years that you've been having in recent years, everybody gets kind of spoiled. You get to the point where you're almost expecting to win every time out, and you lose a couple races. It seems like you're in a slump, but maybe you got it turned around right now.
I don't know. I hope so, because I know in about a month those Outlaw guys are going to be in here, and I think we're still a little ways off from being as good as we were last year with those guys, because they're really fast this year again. But hopefully we can work on it from here and get a little better.
The Limited's first Grove show of '93 is a good one, presented by a field of 40. Luckless Jim Novinger frees himself from his uncomfortably hung racer. Steve Valella also stimulates the local economy a bit. As the pack settles down, we focus up front, where the number 50 of Brian Seidel does not quite hold off the 4 of Rick Hench in an extended duel that a large crowd stayed to watch.
I think we've won at every track in this part of Pennsylvania and whatever, a mini or a limited, and this is the first one here to Grove, and I tell you, it really feels great. And if there's no time limit on this interview, maybe we can just hang out here for a while.
May Day is another proud moment for the Limiteds as they help pack Port Royal with their first appearance. Tim Higgins cut turn 1 a little early, and now Jeff Wary tries to extend turn 3 as 33 Limiteds deal with Port Royal inertia. Randy Ruth, number 88, barely holds off the 2 of Frankie Herr for the historic win.
First off, Randy, congratulations. I know you looked for this victory lane a long time. You raced here before.
Yeah, I always liked this track, but it just seemed I never had much luck up here. Every time I was running good, it always seemed my car broke or something.
2 laps to go. Frankie Herr, I'm sure you heard him back here pounding on the back door.
I heard him. I didn't see him, but I knew he was there. I guess it was 2 laps to go. I heard him, and then them last 2 laps, I just never lifted. I figured it's time to go for it.
The regular sprints were more predictable as the Todd, Keith, and Lance show. The 1 of Schaeffer gave up the lead to Kaufman before blowing a tire. The 461 of DeWeese finished a very close second. May 2nd, that's Barry Redinger. The modifieds prepare to take to the NASCAR-sanctioned Penn National. The 15 of Billy Pouch once again roots his way into the lead, but another sprint car star, Fred Raymer in the R10, is also not sitting home Sunday nights. Fred did the unusual, taking the lead from Pouch on the 9th lap to lead for 6 more until the 19 of Kenny Brightbill conquers all. Brightbill started 19th, Raymer started 11th, and Pouch started 18th, and that's what we like best about modified racing. The CRA is on the way. May 7th is time to meet them near Ohio's famously fast Eldora Speedway. Once a year, the California Racing Association tours across country, enthralling fans with their dedication to wingless sprint car racing. A club of paradox, perhaps. This group has so much going for it, and at the same time, some very challenging problems. It takes a special breed to race topless at Eldora, as everything about sprint car racing is exaggerated, including the occasional violence. In a 1988 USAC feature, Tony Elliott was moving well until bumping the wall. Tony is with us tonight. Leland McSpadden and Jack Hewitt are the favorites this year. In the 1991 CRA show, they got together while battling for the lead. CRA 1992, Jack Haudenschild took the lead from McSpadden very briefly. Later in the same feature, McSpadden again had to drop low to avoid Eric Gordon, who just threw it all away while running second. Although nobody was hurt in any of these crashes, a tranquilizer might be in order as we climb atop Earl's water truck surrounded by the skyscraper Rim Rider turns of the world's fastest half-mile dirt. On a dusty surface, Leland McSpadden, number 91, would eventually pop a tire against the wall in his futile efforts to run down a dominating Jack Hewitt, number 63.
Again, Jack.
It's a two-night stand, and Saturday found the water trucks busy and the dust back under control. Concerned fans, some still clutching their beer, are first to the aid of Gary Fisher during time trials. Eldora's front stretch is not the best place to be when your sprinter decides it wants to roll over. Gary is A-OK. Robert Stanley and the 17s of Tony Elliott and Charles Davis duel before the 17s meet in turn 1. At our request, CRA's Leland McSpadden, the Tempe Tornado, is making his moves in the first turn. Here, retaking third from Kerry Foss. Second from Rip Williams. And finally first from the 21 of Bobby McNovich. It's popular Leland McSpectacular in Victory Lane. May 11th, most CRA drivers are not professional, but nonetheless, they have stretched the rubber band all the way to Grandview Speedway in eastern Pennsylvania. CRA's Ron D. Donato, Rip Williams, Bobby McNovich, Scotty Burns, and URC's Gary Thayer are among the large field of 40 cars. A big pit count is usually great news, but on a weeknight, which includes CRA time trials, we are not so sure. Over 160 laps of time trials used up the track, and at 9 o'clock, instead of lining up the B main, the track has just been reconditioned for the first heat. Not so good for the working fans. And how many race people do you know on welfare? Gary Thayer may not like time trials either. The racing was action-packed and very competitive, featuring fine runs by locals such as Billy Ellis and Mayor's Stelfox. It does seem that the big money power setups lose some of their advantage when the wings come off. Lenny Krautheim and Dave Kelly do not bend their wings. Leland was racy, but only mid-pack before catching the cushion, the only feature flip. Billy Pouch is interested in the $6,000 bonus offered to the locals. His number 1 started third and took the lead from the 21 of Bob McNovich on the 13th lap. Up to third midway, Chris Ace appeared fastest until becoming a victim of a bobble by second place, always exciting Kerry Foss. Pouchy has taken a lot of loot out of Grandview in the last few seasons, and tonight is worth $10,000 more. Keep your eye on the cameras there, Billy. May 14th. CRA on a wet, little choppy Williams Grove surface finds Ron Kramer taking his third career Grove time trial flip. Wingless time trials for those not accustomed can be tricky. There goes Chris Ash. Still in time trials, Bev Thompson has her crack up in the third turn. Everyone's okay. Another great mixture of cars took the feature green. All-Star Frankie Kerr, number 23, takes first from CRA's Ricky Gunt, number 4. Local star Billy Pouch, number 1, again started third before moving into second. Lance DeWeese is the only flip victim outside of time trials. Pouchy only threatened leader Kerr midway through the event, then had his hands full holding off the 37 of the always exciting Kerry Foss.
I'm sure you knew it was Billy Pouch behind you, and I'm sure you knew how much this meant to him. There's a difference of $8,300 between first and second. You knew he was going to be coming after you.
Well, Billy come from the modifieds, and I figured he used some of the modified tactics, but he really ran clean, and I congratulate him for Tuesday. He made 10 grand that night, so it's my turn to make 4 tonight.
Hey, nice to come back and see all these people in the grandstands tonight.
Pennsylvania is still the greatest. I don't care where you race.
May 15th. CRA's most impressive crowd packed Lincoln. Time and track surface again were not the only thing wasted in time trials, as Cliff Bryan's first competitive lap without a wing cost him his racer. Cliff, young brother of Bill Bryan, took a ride to the hospital but was okay. Lincoln seemed to be the perfect size for the wingless sprinters, but then such is the case for wing cars as well. Wingless advocates' proclamation of less dust is proving myth as Lincoln's infamous fourth turn dust plume appears on schedule. The always exciting Kerry Foss started on the pole and threatened to dominate. Kerry had a half-lap lead when he caught a tire, some air, and the wall on the 9th circuit. CRA drivers still have their night as the number 4 of Mike Kirby inherits the lead and holds off Leland McSpadden as the groove moves upstairs. Good show.
You had to know who was behind you tonight. Leland came up from 18th starting spot. He was in 4th after 7 laps. A bad break for Kerry back there on the 3rd turn. I don't know, could you got back and run with him?
Yeah, I seemed to get better at the end. He was fast at first, but I finally found out where he was running, so I just moved up, and she was pretty good.
You had to know Leland was there at the end, though.
I tell you, I won 4 main events, and he's been in second every time, so that makes it real tough.
May 16th, warm-ups. Susquehanna has a perfect wet slurpy surface for CRA's Pennsylvania finale. Unfortunately, threatening weather led to a smallish crowd, which led to the promoters bailing out after a brief rain shower. Refunds were offered to the fans, but antidepressants might have been more appropriate. It could have been the show of the year. May 21st, Tony Grainer will be very much part of the excitement tonight at Williams Grove. Todd Schaeffer's winning move during a heat race was a preview of things to come. The feature opens in wild style as front row contact dominoed back through the field, finally victimizing Bert Shoup and Dan Dietrich. Tony Grainer leads but bumps the steal as the 19 of Steve Smith is closing in. Smith took the lead on the 9th lap as the 17 of Chris Aish follows into second. Aish tailed Smith until the 18th lap. As Aish took the lead, the number 1 of Todd Schaeffer, who started 9th, made one of his moves, which proved that wings are not all bad. Schaeffer took the lead briefly before dropping back to second down the backstretch and then regaining the lead for keeps in turn 3. The feature also ends in wild style as Tony Grainer flips across the finish line while beating out the 16 of Bill Bryan for 6th. Mike Wagner, who had just stalled on the track, and Tony are both okay. Meanwhile, Todd Schaeffer, Mr. Excitement, is with his rewards in victory lane. The limited sprints will contribute their share to the record 10 flips at the Grove tonight. Mark Plummer loses a tire and gets clobbered by Jeff Stelter as the errant tire upsets Keith McManus. Carl Hughes is upended after there was nowhere to go. Frankie Herr is the only flip victim in this front stretch traffic jam. The bad one starred Moon Mullen in turn 3. Moon saw a few stars, but was A-okay. Jim Novinger has his usual luck. Bobby Weaver has a limited ride tonight, but the first turn of the feature is the end for letter X. Dale Hammaker was running 3rd on the final lap when his luck ran out. Even Scott Kleinfelder had to bust through on his way to the win after starting back in the pack. Scott crossed over from the Sportsman this year, and it's his first limited win.
Thanks, Bruce. I'll tell you what I like to do. I like to dedicate this win to my number 1 fan, Brenda Sanderson. She's here tonight. She told me not to win last week, save it for tonight because she couldn't be there, so I won for her tonight.
May 22nd, the Modifieds have taken over Susquehanna as they try it 4 wide here every Saturday night. Over 40 mods are again pitside, and a good crowd is in the stands. Wild stock car action finds Scott Irwin inverted and early feature leader Don Schweitzer riding the rail. We've got some modified heavyweights calling Susky home. The number 19 of Kenny Brightbill worked past the 17 of Toby Tobias Jr. and the number 714 of Billy Schenkel in extended side-by-side modified style racing on his way to the win. The pits are stuffed tonight as 33 cars limited sprints make their only 93 Susky appearance. Despite early race contact, Rusty Presley has been leading the feature since the second lap. Rusty looked strong until a 10th lap restart when a left rear tire came loose. This cost Rusty the lead and then a wing. Bill Albright, number 33, inherited the lead and held off the number 50 of Brian Seidel and then the number 2 of Frankie Herr for the win.
So which groove do you prefer when you race, high, low, or wherever you can go?
Well, either way, wherever is the fastest.
So how did you like racing here tonight at Susquehanna?
It's super. The racetrack was just really great. It's the smoothest racetrack I've been on all year.
May 23rd, Sunday nights belong to the modifieds at Penn National. Saturday night is race night. Heston, Susquehanna, Hagerstown, Maryland, Bridgeport, New Jersey, and Georgetown, Delaware are among the tracks recently joining the long list of Saturday night operations. An extra tip of the hat may be in order to tracks like Big Diamond, Linda's, Path Valley, Trailway, Williams Grove, here at Penn National, and all other tracks who make it work on nights preceded or followed by a workday. Doug Hoffman almost becomes the first Penn National Flipper of the year in this feature tangle. The number 17 of Toby Tobias Jr., who had started 10th, takes the lead from the number 11 of Bobby Botcher with 2 laps to go on his way to his 10th career Penn National feature win. May 27th, local talents Chris Hladek and Todd Schaeffer hauled down front during the first Williams Grove World of Outlaws show of the season. Schaeffer's heat race wheelie played the rave reviews. Hladek got caught up in aggressive B-main action. Another view allows Glenn Fitzgerald's nose stand to be seen as well. Wild Bill Bryan backs her in. Features lined up through time trials are often easy to cover. Dave Blaney starts on the pole and leads every lap.
Dave, it's been a heck of a year for you so far. You sure look fast tonight.
Well, it has been a good year. You know, I got to thank Ken Woodruff. He keeps this vibrant Ford running real strong for me. Gives me a chance every night. And, you know, sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't.
Things certainly don't go Doug Rohrball's way on May 29th at Lincoln. Doug is A-OK, but there will be one less car on the circuit. Lincoln favorite Fred Raymer is running the Outlaws tonight, and Delaware's Scott Walls takes advantage for his first sprint car win. Here, young Scott gets caught with a zipper down in victory lane. May 30th, it's Sunday night special time at Susquehanna, starring 46 super sportsmen and then 22 sprinters. Big Bobby Weaver's Sportsman dry slick setup clicks, and it often does. Everybody else is running for second. Although finishing on 7 cylinders, Weaver's number 71 came from 9th starting position to take the lead from Jeremy Trout with 3 laps to go.
Well, it was quite a performance there. You went side by side for about 3 laps. I guess that has to always be a thrill when you're driving.
Yeah, well, that's right when I dropped the cylinder and I couldn't quite get him cleaned off.
I see. So tell us about your trip through the field. You really had to work out there tonight, I guess.
Yeah, usually when the track gets slick like this, we go pretty good, and we hit the setup right, and I mean, we were going.
The sprinters are still the fast way around Susky. Randy Wolf meets Billy Sims after getting spun in traffic. Bill Bryan scores his 2nd career win in style, leading every lap.
Well, congratulations, Bill, on your win tonight. How was it out there?
The track was real slick, but the crew had that car working real good, and we could get around the top real fast. I mean, everything felt real good, so it was a good time.
I guess you have to be really pleased winning your 2nd feature. How long have you been racing sprint cars now?
Well, this will begin my 4th year, and it's been since Labor Day 1991. I won my first feature here, so they're far apart, but I'm not planning on making them that far this time.
June 2nd, the World of Outlaws' first ever show in Delaware is at the State Fairgrounds in Harrington. Promoters are politicking to revamp the historic facility for auto racing, but the surface is still for horses. They're working on it. A good crowd filled the stands of the big half mile. The track was so one-grooved that the drivers knew that 90% of the feature would be over by turn 2 of the first lap. This made for some wild starts in turn 1. One attempt produced the first outlaw flip here in the first state, and it's the number 11 of all cars. Despite not having Swindell or Wolfgang to deal with this year, Steve Kinzer has not been able to dominate, perhaps even experiencing a career low by his standards. Johnny Herrera started on the pole, stayed in the groove, and did not drop out. Thus, here's Johnny performing victory lane hat tricks. In other outlaw action, Donnie Kreitz did it again at Williams Grove on May 28th. The Blue 69 cruised past both Steve Kinzer and leader Dave Blaney. The Outlaws have been beat before, but never like this. June 5th, Darrell Steimling is a Port Royal regular. It's Saturday night. Troy Camp and Rod Stroup tangle and pile up on turn 4. The deuce of Joey Kuhn took the lead on the 13th lap from the 61 of Tony Greener. The 461 of Lance DeWeese followed into second, and when Joey slipped high, DeWeese closed in for a close finish. Kuhn prevailed for his 2nd Port win of the season. June 11th, Williams Grove. Frankie Pruitt Jr. in number 7 takes his first ride ever in a sprint car during warm-ups. After nearly getting run over in the first turn, Frankie stood on it and promptly dumped it in turn 3. Long overdue for a win here, Craig Eschenauer led for several laps until the 461 of Lance DeWeese slipped by in turn 1. Lance drove hard on the cushion around lap traffic until throwing a tire in turn 3. Billy Pouch, number 1, took the lead from Eschenauer just before Eschenauer dropped out with 2 laps to go. It's Pouchy's first sprint win at the Grove.
Billy, I know you've won hundreds of features in your career, but you look pretty happy right now.
It's tough here. It's just plain tough.
Well, I don't know if do you realize who you had behind you there with 2 laps to go?
I seen the 29 up on the board, and I know Keith's tough here, and he runs about as good as anybody gets around this track, and I just was trying to hold a good line up against the cushion to keep my foot in it.
The car's limited sprints produce a 42-car field tonight at the Grove. Qualifying is tough. That's Rich Carnathan landing hard on the guardrail. Rich's car was heavily damaged. Steve Villella blows an engine, and Jeff Wary hits the grease and then hits Villella. Both cars stand up. but again, everyone is okay. Randy Ruth, number 88, passed the X of Bobby Weaver on the next to last lap for his second Cars win of the season.
Over this way, Randy.
June 12th, Port Royal. Fred Raymer makes a special Port Royal appearance in the high groove. Hard luck specialist Bobby Landis took a horrifying flip after another car lost power in front of him. Black and blue, Bobby would later be taken to the hospital with what would turn out to be minor injuries. Rod Stroup led the feature early but has obvious problems here. Lance DeWeese was running second when, for the second night in a row, a heavy cushion sucks the left front wheel away. It's Keith Kaufman's fourth Port Royal win of the year. Racing is a lot of work. That's Tony Smolinak. Tonight is the second appearance of the Limiteds here. Brian Paulus was running up front until catching the inside rail and flipping in the first turn. With the sight lines obstructed by pitted stock cars, Paulus would suffer a very late hit. That's Greg Kuck also flipping, but everyone is okay. Greg Leiby takes home the bacon. Williams Grove presents the previously rained out Jack Gunn Memorial on Sunday night, June 13th. Randy Davis can't find the handle. Bill Case flips, then gets additional grief from Bill Fantasy, who had nowhere to go. No injuries, but two more badly damaged racers. Frankie Norris almost flips in the first turn, but keeps her rolling. Frankie almost flips in the third turn after losing the left rear. Chris Aish crosses up. A spin by Frankie Kerr opens for this brother act as Darren Aish rides over Chris's tire. Glenn Fitzcharles also gets involved. Donnie Kreitz has a better winning percentage against the Outlaws the last 2 years than he does against the weekly points handicapping here. Tonight's special time trials allowed Kreitz to start near the front. The Blue 69 took the lead from pole sitter Fred Raymer before running away from the field. Your children under 12 and your ducks get in free at Williams Grove. The super sportsmen are on hand to present a good feature. But first, White Live rolls the X-Dirt Champ car in turn 3. The number 3 of Dave Callman eventually won out in this side-by-side duel, with the 07 being driven tonight by George Group. Number 8, Rich Eichelberger, is putting on a show. What else is new? Running the high groove and moving into second on the final lap.
You and George Group really had a heck of a race there in the beginning.
Yeah, he was going good. Like I said, it took me a while to find where that line was up top, that it was the smoothest through, that I didn't get out of shape and lose corner speed. Once I found out, we were pretty good.
June 15th, Grandview, Thunder on the Hill. The wings are back on, but the time trials are going. 2 20-lap features are on tap. Keith Kaufman do-si-dos with Dave Hahn. Jamie Steffi gets over Todd Schaefer's left rear tire. Troy Stell launches over Todd Schaefer's right rear tire. The URC racer suffered some heavy damage. Keith Kaufman came back from 2 heat race tangles to start in the first row, and that's all she rode in the first feature. Thunder on the hill indeed, as management rushes the second feature onto the track. The fourth row looks strong, with Billy Pouch and Fred Raymer, both heavily experienced here at Grandview. While Pouchy finishes last, Fred Raymer wheelied into the lead on the first lap on his way to the win. Todd Schaefer's lost tire saved disaster, as a power failure ended the race under this caution on the 17th lap. June 16th, Western Pennsylvania Speed Week opens, with Rocky Hodges buttoning in at the new Challenger Speedway. It's a third mile on the top of a hill, and like most Western Pennsylvania tracks, the scenery is as breathtaking as the wheelies. Jack Hewitt races with Bobby Allen. Second-generation star Joey Saldana set fast time before crashing in his heat race. The one of Kevin Huntley led until the black deuce of Ed Lynch took over. Lynch, who really has paid his dues over the years, is becoming a top star. Lynch dominated until blowing a tire on the final lap. Unfortunately, a standing ovation doesn't pay bills. The race restart allowed 2 more laps as familiar Donnie Kreitz takes the lead from Huntley for the All-Star win. June 17th, once again, Western PA Speed Week draws nearly 40 cars, this time at the recently dirt-covered Hickory Speedway near Newcastle. Hickory is small, and that's no complaint, believe me. Watching such a strong field of drivers trying to figure out where to stick a total of some 20,000 horsepower on the flat quarter mile was a treat. Even the time trials were interesting. Surprisingly, Rod George was the only car to get upside down, and it was wing damage only. Rocky Hodges wheelies the lead away from Jack Hewitt, but once again it's a Central PA star coming through for the win. This time it's the 19 of Steve Smith taking the lead from Hodges on the 21st lap.
How do you feel?
Well, I tell you what, all kidding aside, the racetrack got better by the feature time, and well, you could see that. They only had 1 yellow flag, so they must have been doing something right.
Your feelings on the smaller tracks? I know you've run all kinds of sizes of tracks, but this was a quarter-mile speedway, a little bit different in the turns. You didn't have to use the cushion that much, did you?
I'm too old. I'm too old for these small tracks. I need to get on a bigger track where I can relax a little bit.
Consistent Frankie Kerr would be the Western PA Speed Week champ. June 18th. We're back in central Pennsylvania, but sticking with the bull rings as the limited sprints take to Path Valley. Scott Kleinfelder got right back into action after this rollover. The number 7 of Carl Hughes came from 7th starting spot to lead the feature, but the number 5 of Mark Richard has come from farther back to challenge. Richard gained the upper hand on the 19th lap.
You did a masterful job out there.
Thank you, Ray. I kind of got to credit that to all the laps that I've run here since '87 when this place opened up. And I've always loved the place. I told you that the night before the race even got started. I said this is my favorite track of any of them. And it's just great to get back here. We needed to win the worst kind of way for this whole team. This whole team stuck together through all our hard luck. And we're on our 2nd car already this year. And Lord, let's hope it ends at that, you know. But you never know what the way luck goes.
June 19th, we switch from the bull rings to the sweeping Sealands Grove Speedway. Chris Ace, number 17, came from the 11th starting spot to take the lead from Jimmy Nace on the 13th lap. Chris becomes the first repeat winner of the year here. June 22nd, the Driver Independent Racetracks, or DIRT, circuit of New York includes a tour into Pennsylvania and Williams Grove. The late modelish appearing big block modifieds drew a 35-car field, and a good crowd attended. Alan Johnson gets over Richie Tobias for the year's first stock car flip at the Grove. No injuries. The number 72 of last year's winner, Brett Hearn, led for 60 laps. That's when the white car of Bob McCready made this strong move, initiating dominance of the balance of the 75-lap feature. Here's Bob Barefoot McCready from Watertown, New York, along with Miss Dirt after the $10,000 win. It's June 25th as the sprinters reclaim Williams Grove for the Darrell Goon Memorial. Dale Devonshire cartwheels in turn 4. The 5 of Craig Eschenauer leads with Glenn Fitzcharles second. The 1 of Todd Schaeffer started 10th, but a few of his patented casually impossible moves and he's challenging the leaders. Schaeffer finally zaps both Fitz and Eschenauer at one time before getting into big-time trouble in Victory Lane.
Last week you told us you changed cars, and I guess you made the right decision.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I owe this one to my guys. My car was definitely working good. Fitzcharles and them were good on the top. I was a little quicker, but there's no way I'd get by. If it would have gone non-stop, he'd have probably won. Tell you what, I want to dedicate this win to my girlfriend. She was good friends with the Goons, and Oh, wife. Sorry, I stand corrected. And boy, I slipped up there.
The limited sprints once again will produce most of the action with their 44-car field. The way is blocked again for poor Jim Novinger. Greg Cook blows a tire and shows Rich Nye the rail. Very popular this year is the fourth turn double flip, as executed this week by Scott Kleinfelder and Brian Seidel. The final red is a traditional one for Rusty Presley. The deuce of Frankie Herr took the lead midway and held off the 07 of Dave Kalaman for his second career limited win.
Well, you did a great job, really working well on the bottom up there in 1 and 2.
Yeah, we were definitely getting a hold up there, and I told the chassis man that's where I want to go around the bottom of 1 and 2 and up top in 3 and 4.
What'd you think when you saw 07 on the scoreboard in second? You know that Kalaman doesn't back off for anybody.
Yeah, I knew I had the best in the business and the limited sprints behind me, so I had to stand on it.
June 26th, a 2-hour delay, but Lincoln is the only track not rained out. Scott Cahill no doubt wished they would have canceled after this hard crash. Another view. No description necessary. A $500 bounty on Fast Freddie Raymer will go uncollected. The 55 of Phil Walter led briefly over the 69 of Donnie Kreitz before the 21 of Raymer took over on just the 4th lap for his 6th straight Lincoln win. Graduate of a 4-cylinder sprint class, Rusty Presley's name has been showing up frequently in cars' top 10 finishers. The Limiteds make a special Penn National appearance on June 27th. Len Thompson meets a spinning Rich Nye and is upset over the situation. It's a great show on the big, flat, fast half mile. The 07 being driven tonight by Rick Hench takes the lead from Jeff Stelter, number 21, on the 6th lap. Hench led until the 15th lap when the 81 of Bob Beitelman moved around on the outside. A late race restart finds Hench back in front as Beitelman holds off the 33 of Bill Albright for second. Here's Rick Hench, who recently scored his first full sprint win at Selinsgrove after his second limited win of the season. Let's not forget the modifieds. Richie, or Toby, Tobias, works the lead from the white 714 of Billy Schenkel with just 3 laps to go and with great drama. It's Toby's 4th win of the season here. June 29th, 30-year veteran Barry Camp contemplates his new ride in the Beam 88, replacing injured Chuck Reiner. Port Royal may have dropped out of Pennsylvania Speed Week points-wise, but what a break for the working fans. No time trials. Early feature problems for Barry Camp. The 21 of Freddie Raymer takes the lead from the 8 of Dan Dietrich. Daring Dan was trying to hold off Todd Schaeffer for second when he got a little too high. The restart. The number 1 of Schaeffer follows Raymer briefly before making one of his patented moves, which even confuses our camera. The Tuesday night win is worth $4,000. June 30th, Speed Week officially continues at Path Valley in front of a good crowd as more people discover the excitement on this combination of a bull ring and a super speedway. It sets off the turnpike just 2 exits west of Carlisle. The 21 of Fred Raymer took the lead on the 5th lap. Early leader Darren Ace, number 10, held off Lance DeWeese for second until wheel banging sent DeWeese out of control into the infield, nearly landing on Van May, who's flipped about 100 times himself in his recent career. Raymer becomes the first 2-time winner in sprint history at Path Valley.
Yeah, I don't mind running the big tracks like Port and Williams Grove and Selinsgrove and all them, but I tell you, I really enjoy, the short tracks like this because you're always racing. You don't go a million miles an hour. But it's a lot of time it's side by side, and that's racing as far as I'm concerned.
After 2 rainouts at Williams Grove, Speed Week picked up at Selinsgrove on July 3rd in front of a packed grandstand. The show included 5 classes plus time trials for 32 sprint cars, so not surprisingly would run on until 1 a.m. with still one feature curfew. Jamie Steffi has become a Sealands Grove regular. Fred Raymer leads the 17 of Chris Aish home for the win. Bill Glenn won his sprinter through the air on the final lap. A trip to the hospital was in order, but Bill was not seriously hurt. Speed Week continues on a hot, humid July 4th at Susquehanna in front of another of those giant hot weather crowds. The feature starts out with a rarity as Donnie Kreitz is upside down. The Raymer Ace show continues. This time it's the 17 of Chris starting on the first row and leading every lap over Raymer.
Yeah, you know, it was really dusty and it got hard to see. And, you know, a couple times I got in there a little too deep and got up in the cushion and the car was bobbling around a little bit. You know, but I made my mind up. I was going to try to win this race no matter what it took. You know, I knew Fred Raymer was back there, and it feels really good to beat him.
The Super Sportsmen make their third visit of the year here at Susky. Like the sprints, the Sportsmen would go non-stop after an unusual incident in the first lap. While there's a tangle on turn 2, Tim Kuhn has rolled his deuce in turn 1. Kuhn keeps right on going, while officials cancel the red flag. This is rare, but we've seen it before. However, what you are about to see happened under caution, as Tim Kuhn may be the first driver to ever flip a car on 2 different occasions on the same lap without ever stopping. Tim was okay and the race is on as Dave Newman, number 47, takes the lead from the 14 of Chris Reed as Rich Eichelberger moves into second. Eichelberger took the lead on the 8th lap and appeared headed for a fairly easy win. Not. Jim Shuttlesworth is driving the number 50 and without the aid of a caution runs down the number 8, but cannot get the job done.
Were you worried at any time that you might not be able to hold them off there working through lap traffic?
I was worried the whole race. Anytime you're up there leading like that, you keep waiting for them to come. And I want to thank the management here for having the sportsman cars here. We like racing here on Sunday nights, so I hope the fans enjoyed a good race.
Pennsylvania Speed Week winds up at Lincoln on July 5th. Time trial started Lincoln's all-time winner Steve Smith on the pole, and the 19 led every lap unchallenged, thus ending Fred Raymer's win streak here. However, Raymer was crowned Speed Week champ. As Pennsylvania Speed Week ends, Ohio Speed Week begins as sanctioned by the All-Stars. The U2, with lead singer Rocky Hodges, opened the series with a Monday night win at Buckeye Speedway before an enthusiastic flagman. Ed Lynch has his problems, victimized into this minor role at Muskingum County, and then becoming a surprise guest at a neighborhood barbecue 2 nights later at Sharon. Familiar Johnny Mackison wired the field Tuesday night at Muskingum County Speedway. Wednesday night, the All-Stars presented another near 50-car field at the easier-to-pronounce Attica Speedway. Johnny Mack once again started on the pole, leading most of the way. Texan Gary Wright in the 5X moved by on the inside with just 2 laps to go for the $4,000 win. Thursday night's race at Sharon was one of only 4 scheduled at the big half-mile this year. Craig Rankin squeezes his wing. That's Kevin Huntley leading every lap. Consistent Frankie Kerr would be the Ohio Speed Week champ. July 9th, back home again in Pennsylvania, where Billy Crawford buttons in at Williams Grove, where the Mitch Smith Memorial is on tap. The late, great Mitch Smith, who scored most of all of his hundreds of wins from mid-pack, may be revolving in his grave to know that a race in his honor was castrated by the wussy handicapping of time trials. Rick Inch rolls the Darrell Crow racer. Keith Kaufman led every lap, while surprise visitor Bobby Davis Jr. in the number 4 duels with Fred Raymer on his way to a 3rd-place finish. Keith collects $10,000. The Limited shower Beer Hill with mud during warm-ups. Steve Villella experiences his 3rd Grove flip of the season, still in warm-ups. Brian Seidel taps the rail. Tom Waltman was uninjured in this horrifying flip in the Consi. Bill Albright in his number 33 becomes the 7th different winner in as many races for the Limiteds at the Grove this year. Here, Bill slips inside to take the lead from the 11 of Pete Halata. July 10th. As the Mississippi floods, the East is in a bit of a drought. Second-generation star Troy Camp prepares to do it Port Royal style. Ron Kramer loses his front end and finds the steal. Ron is A-OK, but the Kratzer Sprinter will be shelved for some time. Port Royal's Schaeffer Kaufman DeWeese show was interrupted last week by the number 5 of Craig Eschenauer scoring a $5,000 win. This week is back to normal as the 1 of Todd Schaeffer leads Keith Kaufman and Lance DeWeese across the line. July 11th thrills at Penn National. Here come the modifies, where 3 abreast shots are a dime a dozen. The number 7 of Tommy Sheets is leading the feature with just a few laps to go, but under heavy pressure from the 33 of Ray Swinehart and the 17 of Toby Tobias. The checkered flag falls in front of an enthusiastic crowd. It's Tommy's first feature win ever, and they're the best kind. Tommy says it took 10 years and $100,000, but was worth it. July 14th finds hot, humid weather for Thunder on the Hill at Grandview. Fred Raymer, who grew up racing and winning in the Grandview Modifieds, drew the pole. Raymer sliced through lap traffic for 14 laps, opening a large lead, but it's never over till it's over. Fred's over. The restart and another flip. It's Bruce Thompson after tangling with Stu Brown. The number 1 of Todd Schaeffer inherited the lead from Raymer, but the 17 of Chris Aish is challenging on the restart. Typical Grandview third turn action leaves Chris Aish a comfortable lead at the finish. The final turns of the final lap would see Glenn Fitzcharles taking a detour. Chris doesn't like to win them exactly like this, but he'll take the $5,000. That's Miss Motorsports' Robin Smoker. It was with some sadness we say goodbye to the last No Time Trials, No Support Class show on the circuit. However, the self-starting mini-sprints dished out some thrills without holding the show up too much. So far, we can still recommend Thunder on the Hill to working race fans. Glenn Worley's no dummy. Every year he waits for others to run out of money before debuting his Barney-colored number 2 Sprinter. It's July 16th at Williams Grove. Rod Stroup would be the first of a record drove 12 flips tonight. Tony Greener did more sliding than flipping, fortunately. As has happened frequently lately, the featured green produces chaos as the sprinters don't make it down the front stretch. Craig Eschenauer got pushed around and the field piled in. Craig's car is completely totaled. Other flippers were Dave Kelly, Todd Schaeffer, Billy Sims, and Glenn Worley. Everyone is okay. Only 15 cars restarted the event, with Darren Ace, number 10, trying hard to hold off the 69 of Donnie Kreitz. Just what we need, as Dale Devonshire is over and out. Soon after the restart, Kreitz took the lead for keeps on the outside. Tracy Templin is one of those hard chargers who are making the limiteds very interesting. It's one of those nights, just follow a car and it'll probably crash. That's Rusty Presley crowding the inside rail. Jeff Stelter swipes a sideways Brian Seidel before flipping on the backstretch. Jimmy Walker runs over Lance Machete. Keith McManus takes the high groove. The 33 of Bill Albright almost became the first repeat winner of the year here, but the number 81 of Bob Beitelman took the lead while threading the needle with just half a straightaway to go. We're talking serious crowd as we visit Silver Spring on July 17th. The Super Sportsmen take to their home track. A four-car battle for the lead includes the 15 of John Yinger, the 5 of Donnie Beaver, the 9 of Glenn Yackel, and John Murphy. Donnie Beaver prevails for his second straight win here.
Were my eyes deceiving me, or did you pass some race cars on the bottom tonight?
Yeah, I did. We learned some stuff from up there at Path Valley last night, and we used it here tonight, and it worked good.
No doubt about it. I'll tell you what, once you got in the lead there, you were back in the old familiar groove out against the wall.
Yeah, good cushion again tonight. Dry track, hard to pass on, but good cushion, so.
The usual 10:30 Saturday night ending of the show here at the Spring helps produce swarms of kids in Victory Lane and everywhere. They may get in free, but they buy lots of snow cones, usually bring the folks, and grow into ticket buyers. They are a major part of this, the most successful operation on the circuit. Another big positive here is there's only one class of weekly stock cars. This keeps it a very competitive class. The Spring fans know the drivers' names, stay to watch the feature, and really care who wins. The number 6 of Carl Billett scores his 5th win of the season, taking the lead from the number 7 of Mike Leonard. July 18th, Penn National. The modifieds put the pedal to the metal. The number 10 of Scott Albert takes the lead from Kerry Meitzler on the 6th lap. Kerry's younger brother Terry Meitzler in the 21 became the 12th different Penn National winner this year by taking the lead from Albert on an 18th lap restart. Here's the veteran racer in Victory Lane with some friends. July 20th, Port Royal, a midweek special starring the sprinters plus the Super Sportsmen. Mike Wagner's flip was the beginning of a strange night that saw only 12 cars start the feature. With only 12 racers, you'd think they could make it down the straightaway, but they don't even make it to the straightaway until the starting field is trimmed to just 8. Todd Schaeffer led every lap of the embarrassing event, which we'll blame on 12 years of Reagan Bush, and move on to the sportsmen who put on a good show. That's Paul Troutman. The 19 of Joe Reniker, in search of his first win, holds off Dave Kalaman for 8 laps until the Highlands 3 got passed for the win. Kalaman becomes the first repeat winner in Port Royal Super Sportsman history. Big Larry Golick is at Williams Grove on July 23rd as the Super Sportsmen continue to entertain. Joe Reniker follows up his impressive Port Royal showing with a slow roll. Joe continued competing after helping right his racer. Rich Eichelberger finds the rail. The 38-car field is whittled down to 24 for feature action. Bobby Howard, number 11, takes the lead from the 22 of Steve McNair on the 6th lap. The 14th lap brings the final lead change as Jim Shuttlesworth, number 50, takes over on a restart. Howard hangs on for second.
Yeah, when it gets slick, we're usually pretty decent, but I was exceptional tonight because I could run right through the middle. I felt like I was like Kreitz or Big Steve out there.
The 16 of Bill Bryan and the number 8 of Dan Dietrich participate in one of the best and longest lasting duels for the sprint feature lead all year. With 5 laps to go, a win-hungry Dan Dietrich opened a small lead as the 461 of Lance DeWeese moved into second. Super Hot DeWeese caught up to Daring Dan, but Dietrich was not to be denied his first win of the season. July 24th, in the heart of Pennsylvania Dutch country lies the true action track of the circuit, the Clyde Martin Speedway. Featuring more than 100 micros per show, as well as all the flips you can aim a camera at, many a super sprint superstar is hatched here on the 8th mile of red clay. Bruce Buckwater is the survivor/winner tonight, getting to meet the highly envied Miss Greenewald action photos in Victory Lane. July 30th, another large field of limited struggle to qualify at Williams Grove. It's strange. These same drivers could automatically qualify at most Saturday night sprint tracks for a much larger purse. Skip Hopping almost qualified for his first feature. Another view of the horrendous spill which left Skip Hopping with a badly broken ankle. Kevin McNew is leading over this race for second as the 07 of Rick Hench looks strong. Hench lost a tire and turned left way early. Heavy front end damage is evident. The number 8 of McNew goes on to hold off Brian Seidel for his first win ever.
You know, nobody's been here twice this year. We've had 10 features, 10 different winners. There's a goal for you. Maybe you can be the first to repeat.
Well, I hope so. You know, this division's not easy. You got a lot of veterans in this division and a lot of experience out there, a lot of good equipment. And it's great to race with a lot of these guys. You know, you can learn a lot, and it's just great. And I'm so happy to be here. I don't know what else to say.
The full sprinters. Chris H., number 17, takes the early lead from the 55 of Mike Wagner. Joey Kuhn is suffering a streak of steering problems. Selinsgrove star Ace goes on to hold off a trio of Port Royal boys for the win. August 1st, for the first time since 1985, the sprinters take to the Bedford Speedway. 12 sprinters and 2 full fields of stock cars played before a very large and appreciative crowd. In the future, could this big half mile be the missing link between Central and Western Pennsylvania sprint circuits? The field was short, but included the best. Keith Kaufman, number 29, who beat out Doug Wolfgang in the last sprint race here, does likewise tonight to Fred Raymer's number 21, among lap traffic here. A hot August 3rd in Western Pennsylvania, Ed Lynch and the World of Outlaws come to Lernerville for $26,000 to win. Time trials here are processed with perfect efficiency. Plus, the 13-second bracket laps get the silly stuff over in less than a half hour. Thus, although a paradox in terms, we call them the best time trials around. In less than 1 hour, Ed Lynch put his deuce back together, threw the wing back, and did wheelies for the fans during the concert. In the most competitive Outlaws feature we've seen in 10 years, Lance DeWeese, Keith Kaufman, and the 7 of Jeff Swindell all have at it for the lead. Where'd he come from? Would you believe all the way from 13th? The Black Rocket Deuce is piloted by Andy Hillenberg, and he's the new leader. Soon after Johnny Herrera posed on his nose for us camera geeks, Hillenberg's tightly wound engine said goodbye with 7 laps to go. Our own Fred Raymer came on to finish second, but could not draw alongside the man of the hour, Jeff Swindell, Lernerville's all-time biggest paycheck winner. Lernerville has adopted a sprint car-only format for the midweek shows, allowing the Western PA fans a chance to meet their heroes with the sweat still on their faces. Way to go. August 4th, colorful car owner Bob Weichert gives away 10,000 sandwiches as it's beef night at the port. It's an animal rights advocate's nightmare, but the real people at Port Royal ate it up. Time trials put the one of Todd Schaeffer on the pole, but Fred Raymer led briefly just after Todd jumped the cushion lap traffic. Todd quickly regained first for an easy win. We've got it right this year. That's Terry McCarroll as the Outlaws are at Williams Grove on August 5th. After the outstanding Lernerville show, we were really up for this one. Number 5s are in the fence tonight. Chris Stevens in warm-ups and Mark Kinzer in his heat. Just when we thought it was safe, Steve Kinzer starts on the pole and leads every lap.
Steve, you started off on the bottom tonight. Was that the game plan initially? Did you have the car set up to run inside?
Well, that's where I figured was going to run the whole race, and I ran there and got to sliding around a little bit, and I decided to go to the top, and like I said, I felt pretty good there, and then I think after a while I should have come back down there toward the end, back down to the bottom, but it don't matter, we got here anyway, so we'll get tomorrow night to try to get through.
Friday rain pushes us to Saturday, August 8th. After 2 time trial classics in a row, we'll spell relief Silver Spring and the Super Sportsman. Pole sitter Kevin Smith, number 98, is hoping for his first win. The only trouble is the high point men starting back in the pack have been passing other cars. The number 3 of Smokey Snowbaker, who started 10th, is getting the big job done, taking the lead and win from Kevin with 5 laps to go.
Well, Kevin, you know, he's a buddy of mine from up in the country. You know, he's been around me a long while whenever I ran for Lloyd's, and I knew if I get to him, he's probably getting a little tired. I thought maybe I'd get up alongside him and worry him a little bit. But the lap traffic was definitely giving him a rough time. My car was just handling a lot better than his was.
You thought he might get tired. How about the smoke? You don't tire out, do you?
No, longer it goes, the stronger I get.
August 8th, a large crowd is at Lincoln to see if Fred Raymer can beat the Outlaws. Raymer had mechanical problems. However, the local fans' groans turned to cheers when Wild Bill Bryan started on the pole and led every lap.
Well, Billy, I know you've been a fan favorite here for many seasons. You've been running strong all year. You've not quite ever made it into victory lane. And what do you think about tonight, of all times, to win your first race?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is my 3rd career feature ever in 3 years, and I think this is the one we're going to remember the most. But we aren't done right here. We're going to keep going. Next week, we're going to come back, beat Raymer if he's here.
No, Bill did not go on to collect the Raymer bounty Saturday night, but future star Will Rose almost did. Will had a large lead when he clipped a spun car, allowing Fred Raymer to extend his win streak to 10. The Thompson team makes for what is still a rare sight at Williams Grove. The Limiteds get the green, leaving Frankie Herr in no mood for Friday the 13th jokes. The first limited repeat winner of the year here will be the 33 of Bill Albright as he takes the lead from Bob Beitelman, 81, and 78 Jeff Wary in 3 abreast action down the back chute. Billy Sims looks relaxed. The full sprinters get the green and Dave Callman gets over a tire as the deuces have been wild lately at the Grove. Leader Craig Eschenauer wants that first Grove win. Chuck Reinert's back from a leg injury. Chuck's luckless season picks up right where it left off. Chuck and Tony Greener are both okay. A 19th lap restart sets up a Fred Raymer slide job. Surprisingly, it's only Raymer's 2nd win of the year here. August 14th, we stake out new territory at Greenwood Valley, located about 10 miles north of Bloomsburg in beautiful country. Dad works the track and flags, Mom scores, and the girls sell you tickets and hot dogs during the well-run show. Despite its out-of-the-way location, 60 micros are featured and the stands fill rather nicely. King of the micros here is Possum Spangler. Clinton Riggleman is loaded for bear with a curl in his hair as the super sportsmen make a secret added appearance August 15th at Susquehanna. Qualifying action starred Scott Carl. The 55 of Tom Haxall and the 12 of Howie Locke were exchanging the lead until contact sent Haxall pitside with a flat tire, and Locke on his way to his second Susky win of the season. Lincoln, August 21st. Richard Lupo Jr. prepares for push-off in his red 59 prior to banging wheels with Will Rose while battling for first during heat race competition. Randy Wolf hasn't had much luck since taking over the Cooper Motors 25 until tonight. With Raymer in Knoxville, Randy put his up-front starting spot to good use.
This is the first time I ever won at Lincoln. I think I've won at pretty much every central Pennsylvania track, but not here. And I guess that's why Steve let me win, because he has so many. I guess he finally shared one with me.
The Limiteds make their third Lincoln appearance with action on the first turn of the first lap of the first heat. Dale Hammaker and Bill Albright are okay. When Scott Kleinfelder went over at high speed, his wing hung on and worked its magic, allowing Scott to walk away after only 2.5 rolls. Kevin McNew and several others have nowhere to go. The 10 of Lynn Thompson takes first from Jeff Stelter early in the 20-lap feature. 16-year-old Lynn is going to be a good one, but tonight the rookie throws it all away with 5 laps to go. Randy Ruth thus inherited the lead for his third Cars win of the season. We're sticking with the Limiteds at Penn National on August 22nd. That's Pete Halata. 2 firsts of the year for the Limiteds tonight, no flips, and a win for Brian Seidel in his high-flying 50. Although obviously youthful, Brian is one of the real veterans finding a home in cars. Richie Tobias, number 17, scores his 5th modified win of the season here. Toby started 16th and took the lead from the 9 of Jim Hauer on the 18th lap. Meanwhile, one of our cameras is at the Nationals, where 4 Pennsylvania drivers will qualify for the finale. Others of the 180 entrants didn't fare so well. There was 10 flips. Marlon Jones from South Dakota, Ryan Jamison, Bobby McMahon, and Kevin Huntley all flip in this expensive tangle. Todd Ribbick from Nebraska hits hard. Countrywide spills continue with Shane Stewart from Oklahoma. Our own Lance DeWeese was the only flip in the first and second turns all week. He continued in the race. Homestaters Bob White and Larry Webb from right here in Iowa. International spill star Jimmy Carr from Canada. No serious injuries in any of the crashes. Steve Kinzer will score his 9th Knoxville Nationals. Although Kinzer started on the pole, Stevie Smith, number 77, made sure the fans got their money's worth by dicing with Kinzer and leading several laps before the King reigned. A touch of class before rough and tumble thunder on the hill, August 24th at Grandview. Thunder blunders will include Mike Wells, Fred Raymer, Glenn Clark, a post-caution Lance DeWeese, and Tom Warner. High-banked with a tacky surface, Grandview is just as fast as many tracks twice its size. The large crowds obviously feel a little dust is a small price to pay for a setup which puts all this high-speed action right in their collective faces. Unfortunately, except for the CRA show, which was doomed by time trials, tonight's the first Thunder show to drag past 11, as a 40-car field combined with the equally tippy mini-sprints took its toll. The 17 of Alan Cole takes the lead from the 69 of Todd Gracie, who is struggling with suspension problems. Western PA star Tim Schaeffer was running third before the red for his flip allowed Gracie to replace a shock. Gracie retakes the lead among lapped traffic. The 69 held on for 31 of the 50 laps until the number 1 of Billy the Kid proves why he is king of the hill. It's Billy Pouch's 3rd sprint championship here in Bechtelsville. August 28th, Jason Claus and the Cars Sprints do it Port Royal style. The leaders tangle, including Lynn Thompson, Greg Libby, and Rusty Presley, who piles in late. Most fortunate was Brian Paulus, who lost only his wing while passing under Libby. 13th starting spot was not unlucky for the deuce of Frankie Herr, taking the lead from the 08 of Jason Claus and clinching the 93 Cars Point Championship with tonight's win. August 29th. Fred Raymer, number 21, continues his Lincoln dominance, but it's never dull, as he always does it with honor from mid-pack. Fast Freddy slips by Mr. Smith into second before taking the lead from Clinton County champ Phil Walter in the 55. Despite this detour, Walter will finish second. September 5th finds the United Racing Club sprint cars at Grandview. Kramer Williamson's the defending point champ of our favorite traveling club. The URC conducts business mostly among modified tracks. Thus, there is no tolerance for time trials or heads-up starts. Driverette Mare Stelfox already has the altitude record here at Grandview. Tonight she goes for impact as well. Fresh off her first feature win, Mare's biggest problem is calming the men down. Jimmy Martin leads the field of beautifully painted limited sprints early in the feature. A restart for Tracy Redinger's flip, and the current point leader, Dave McGuff, number 669, takes the lead for his second URC win of the season. That's Dave with the beard, along with the well-shaven Miss URC. The American Drivers Racing Club makes a rare wingless appearance. In fact, any appearance by the midgets is getting rare in these parts. Nonetheless, a full field of 30 are pit side. After a pair of hard double spills, the number 22 of John Heidenreich and the 75 of Lou Ciccone put on a good old-fashioned race-long duel for the lead, one of the best of the season. Ciccone's moves among the lap traffic produced the best results. Here's Lou and company in Victory Lane at his favorite track, the Grandview Speedway. The longest day of the season. First, you stuff yourself with fair food at the Juniata County Fair before the sprinters take to Port Royal for the Labor Day Classic, not to mention 2 classes of stock cars. Rod Straub is out for the day. Donnie Kreitz, number 69, took the lead from Alan Cole on the second lap. Dan Dietrich is having problems with Rick Hench. His attempted pass on the outside produced poor results, but his later attempt on the inside was even worse. Kreitz held off Todd Schaeffer for his second straight Labor Day win here. Veteran Dave Kelly will be missed as he is moving down south. After the port, it's 35 miles up the valley to Selinsgrove for more sprint cars plus 3 classes of stock cars. The yellow 17 of Joey Borich leads the Jack Gunn Memorial. After a small drivers' meeting was organized in turn 3, another yellow 17, Chris Aish, took the lead on his way to his 11th Selinsgrove win of the season. While Pennsylvania is most famous for its sprint car competition, as you will see among our musical mayhem segment, if it has wheels, you can race it here. Although being undercut for years by class after class of stock car backgate patters, the real late models are continuing a comeback. At most Saturday night tracks, die-hard fans and insomniacs are free to stay for sunrise services of street stock thunder car shenanigans and wrecker activity. Here goes a potpourri of 93, and we'll almost show you the shot of the year from Eldora. September 10th, Port Royal. Pleasant traditions of the season-ending Tuscarora 50 includes no time trials and the season's biggest crowd. Unfortunately, high winds and a rare goof by the track crew precipitated the dustiest conditions of the year here. Troy Camp and Gary Brazier did not qualify, but left their marks nonetheless. 93-point champ Lance DeWeese took the lead from the 17 of Alan Cole on the 8th lap. The 21 of Fred Raymer pressured leader DeWeese mid-race, but Donnie Kreitz is fastest on the Dust Bowl. The 69 took second from Raymer on the 41st lap and then the lead on a restart. The interview reminds us that racers themselves must never be in power over track preparation.
Track was great. This is the smoothest I've seen this track in a night show for probably 4 or 5 years. We were expecting it to be a lot rougher tonight, and track crew just did an excellent job.
September 18th, Silver Spring, where J.R. Fry is another star in the making. The number 42 leads the feature for 11 laps until passed by no less than Howie Locke, who is in the process of securing the 93 Silver Spring Point Championship. A late race challenge by the 71 of Bobby Weaver falls short, but Weaver would triumph a couple weeks later in the Silver Spring 100. Micrograduate Lee Kinsey prepares for the Selinsgrove National Open September 26th. Harassed by weather, the 30-lapper was rescheduled to a Sunday night. Fortunately, no time trials delayed the show. Selinsgrove produces the fastest cornering speeds on the circuit. It's awesome. One Selinsgrove regular missing pit side tonight is Glenn Clark, who totaled his racer in a terrific impact back on September 11th. 93-point champion Chris Ace crashed out early, and Todd Schaeffer is #1 tonight here at Selinsgrove, where they know how to do Victory Lane right. After Labor Day comes football and rainier weather. Williams Grove hangs in there a couple more weeks, during which time Len Thompson, Steve Peer, and Darren Ace find different places and angles to bite the steel. The season ends with the 2-day outlaw-sanctioned National Open. No passes for the lead either day this year, as the entertaining time trials start perennial World of Outlaw champ Steve Kinzer on the pole Friday night, and perennial Williams Grove Point champ Donnie Kreitz on the pole for the Open itself Sunday afternoon. The undisputed king of the dry slicks scores over 26,000 Grove greenies. The 93 National Open, along with a dozen more exciting events from Williams Grove, were broadcast nationally in full thanks to W40AF Channel 40 Carlisle and on through the Sports Channel. This means a lot to sprint car racing. Check your weekend listings carefully and don't miss wild action like this, having been called live often by yours truly. Finishing 6th, well back, and they're still racing. Bill Bryan and Tony Grainer crosses and hits the slowing car down the front stretch. Tony Grainer's going to lead the way. Billy Pouch in trouble on the front stretch, so's Donnie Kreitz. And we've got a car rolling over, and that's the 2A of Bert Shoup and Dan Dietrich. The leaders using the outside of the racetrack, and problems for Lance DeWeese in turn 3. The front wheel falls off, and Lance ends up on his side. Kind of tire that they'd like, and right there is the tire problem for Bill Case as he rolls it over on its side, and then it gets hit again, and this time by Bill Fantasy, and Bill's... October 9th. Many of the wild scenes in our musical segment took place here at Linda's Speedway. The quarter mile is perfect for the micros, and this year's National Open drew over 70 entrants. The winner, however, is quite familiar, as the 92 of Kevin Gobrecht takes the lead from Blaze Alexander on the 23rd lap on his way to another win. October 16th, Path Valley is the perfect arena for the midgets. Fred Heidenreich, John Sibling, prepares his brother's backup racer. A lot of people missed this rain-delayed rare appearance of the full midgets, which wound up against Penn State football and the World Series. Dan Shelbo gets over a tire, and as Dan saves it, Gary Monshine winds up against a light pole. Dan is over a tire again, and this time he does not save it. Dan suffered only frustration and a beat-up race car. The 71 of Fred Heidenreich leads for 9 laps until Liquid Lou Ciccone, number 75, who started 11th, took the lead, the win, and the 93 ARDC Point Championship. After Path Valley, we're across the hill to Lincoln, where the story has been the never-claimed bounty on Fred Raymer and Will Rose, who's led several features now only to crash or be crashed. Tonight, however, Raymer is racing elsewhere, and Rose is not in contention. Wayne Collier and Craig Fry are flip victims in Lincoln's 40th anniversary show. With perfect attendance here, Lincoln Point champ Dan Dietrich holds off an impressive Jeff Rohrball, number 45, on his way to his first 93 win in the Pigeon Hills.
Well, Dan, you ran a good race, and starting on the pole always helps out, but you had a couple of big contenders back there, but just didn't seem like they could catch you tonight.
Well, yeah, that one start, that scared me a little. Guys were telling me to fire off on the bottom, and I wasn't convinced on that, but I went ahead and did it there twice, and you saw I got burnt that one time. I said, nah, I'm going to do it my way from now on.
October 24th, Bridgeport, New Jersey. Different people have different reasons to go to a race. If you're looking for sheer entertainment, you can't do better than URC when it comes to traveling clubs. 40 beautiful painted and sensibly winged sprinters divided into just 3 heats makes for lots of side-by-side racing. Trouble on the start of the Consi. Flipping are Stu Brown on the right and Donnie Enos on the left. Jerry Denon flips after failing to miss a spinning Donnie Ekman. Pole sitter Mayor Stelfox, number 3, dueled for first with a 24 of Mike Hagenbottom and John Jenkins until Mayor's handling appeared to go away slightly, dropping her to 6th at the finish. Mike Hagenbottom leads as Jenkins' handling goes away big time on the slick but always fast, spacious layout. John was uninjured after 4 airborne endos. Greg Coverdale, number 17, takes the lead from Hagenbottom on the 11th lap. But here's the kicker. Greg started last. Now that's an awesome run. Greg hung on for the win despite crossing the finish line with a flat tire. Meanwhile, George McGuff sewed up the United Racing Club Points Championship.
A hard-fought race today, wasn't it?
We didn't run with the club last week, and we were handicapped to the back of the pack. And I can't thank the guys behind the scenes enough. The guys on my crew, everybody on the team, my sponsors, Coverdale Insurance Agency, Bud's Auto Body, Fleet Refinishing, everybody involved. They did a great job all year, and we had a real good year.
With socialist policy coming from Washington, big government never threatened so much. The new administration's agenda of redistributing wealth, power, and virtue away from achievers toward the welfare state clearly serves to empower the bureaucracy itself. White House manipulating, creating false crises, exploiting the wedge of class envy, creating more dependency on government, the taking over of the world's best health care system, etc., chisel away at the basic traditional American freedoms of those who, playing by the rules, have been and want to continue to take care of themselves, and would hope the same for others. Even competition itself has been condemned by at least one highly regarded Washington liberal as a regrettable vertical thinking concept brought to these shores by evil European males. Other redefinitions unchallenged by a willing media are less humorous. Perhaps more than any other, racing is a sport of productive society, and as such, in this climate, could not be more politically incorrect. Despite coming assaults, racing will survive and prosper because of the qualities of those therein. However, it has never been so important for racing people, tracks, and associations to work with and not against each other.